The Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Real Doctor Who fans with real Doctor Who opinions.
Hello and welcome to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast, episode 329 of the podcast. I am Brett, going yet again on a solo edition and also a listology edition of the podcast. Yes, this is my list being put up compared to that of the rankings of Doctor Who fans who rank things on the time scales. Now, I will tell you, just to keep things on the up and up, this list is all the things that I have rated on the time scales. And give you a hint, the last one I rated on the time scales comes from 2020. So that being said, there's going to be some new stuff that's not on there. And then if you notice that there's something missing, well, that's merely because, I didn't rate it. Also, keep in mind, I think that this is if you're new to Big Finish, I think this podcast right here, and I'd love to have had Liam and Legion here so we could discuss and debate and argue about each other's lists, even though I think I'd be the only one that would have anything in a particular order, but that is just my burden that I like to carry because lists deem order. But I think this would be a good podcast to listen to for stuff to either consider purchasing if you're new to Big Finish, new to listening to especially the audio dramas, and maybe some things to counterbalance that, seeing if, my opinion or the fans on the timescales opinion is valid or not. Again, if somebody starts dumping on something really, really bad, I will give it a go. Just to see, and I go into it trying to prove them wrong. Now, I had heard great things about, for example, the TV series Andor. I watched that first episode 3 times, bored stiff. I've heard that is probably one of the best, minus the first couple seasons of Mandalorian, the best Disney Star Wars series out there. However, tastes are what they are. So just keep that in mind with this. But I think this would be a really good jumping on point or helpful advice for that. And if you'd like to, I'd love to hear your lists. And send me an email at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. Tweet the show at Alhambra Podcast. That is ALHAMBRA podcast or audio, all one word for both of them, and at the respective sites. If you add us on Twitter, there's a good chance that I've been put on like a block list because I would unintentionally like things and post things just to irk, because I kind of wanted the show to semi get shadow banned, kind of, sort of. Anyway, that's just a me thing. That being said, let's get to this list, and how I will do this is I will go over the top, I'm not going to say 10, but some high timescale review lists, discuss where they are, share my rating of them, and give you my thoughts. I'll give you my top 10-ish rated stories, also give you what the timescale says. Then I'll do the bottom ones, because I do think that one of my favorite things about watching a bad movie or just having a bad movie reference is you always have like a disaster point. And if things meet that disaster point, you know that it's bad. If they go below that disaster point, you know that it's even worse. Now, that doesn't mean you change the disaster point. No, you always need a constant medium. For me, my movie is The Blair Witch Project. I hate that movie so much. It is horrible. It is not good. That is the bar for a good movie. Well, not a good movie, but, where I rank them. So, yeah. Anyway, and the sad thing is I don't have that bar for, because there's one that would really come close to it, but that episode doesn't exist. So, maybe I'll have to come up with my low bar on this podcast right now. Anyway, that being said, we will get to listing the highest, for all the ones that I have ranked on the timescales, the highest rated stories of my ranking ones on there, and I will give you my discussion and thoughts on and opinions on all of those. All right, so number 1 on the list, main range release 140, Death in the Family, has a user rating of 9.5. Now, this is a fantastic story. It brings possibly the most horrifying Big Finish villain, the Word Lord. And if you love words, if you love wordplay, I think that this is a fantastic story, especially for you. But it is so great because, one of my biggest complaints about Doctor Who and about a lot of things is at the very end of many episodes, the villain gets destroyed by being killed. And it's a shame because in comic booky, you'd love to revisit them, having them leave with their, metaphorical tails between their legs. However, the Word Lord is so strong that only death is the only way to basically beat the Word Lord. And this is a fantastic story. Strongly recommend it. I gave this a perfect 10. I think Death in the Family is near perfection. So, yeah. Number 2 on the list of timescales, same rating, 9.5 by the fans. That is the story that may or may not come with Christmas pudding. And that is main range release number 29, The Chimes at Midnight. This is a very creepy story. I give this an 8.5. I used to have this as a 10, but I found, I'd listened to this story at least once a year, and I found that this story, part 4, kind of softens up and kind of gets at least less silly and a little bit more goofy. Not goofy in a bad way, but, the anxiety, the tension, just, at least for me, for part 4, gets cut down just a tad. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but when you're at, basically an 11 in intensity you have part 1, which is, you're baffled by what's going on. Part 2, it gets a little bit more intense. Part 3, even more intense. And then part 4, it's kind of goofy and is odd. I think, yeah. It is a classic, though. Classics do deserve 10, but I do have a right to change my vote. It could be, you can consider it wrong. Email the show, tweet the show, let me know. But yeah, I used to have this as a perfect 10. It is now, at least to me, an 8.5. Next on the list, we have the Companion Chronicles. So out of all of the, I missed one. So as voted on by the fans, the next one on this list is the Doctor Who Early Adventures. This is the second Doctor this is a second Doctor and a first Doctor. This is Daughter of the Gods. Now, this one is a fantastic story. You have Katarina, who was jettisoned out in one of the best classic first Doctor stories, Dalek's Master Plan, is a fantastic story. And this is, Katarina has not died, but yet she has died. She's Schrodinger's Katarina, I guess you could say. And the repercussions that you have from the fallout of her life being saved. And I think that this is a really intriguing story. It was, again, done in the 6th season of the the Early Adventures. And I will tell you, the Early Adventures after a while kind of took kind of struggled. Early on, it was very strong. And then it just kind of got a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter. But this Daughter of the Gods, as rated by the fans, a 9.2. I don't have it rated as high as that. I have it as an 8. It is a good story, a first Doctor, second Doctor story, and it has some good moments between Katarina and the second Doctor, as well as with the first Doctor. And I think it is a And if you're not aware of it or not, there are Daleks in this story. Just wanted to let you know. Next on the list, so number 4 on the ones that I have reviewed compared to the Timescales reviewers, this is a companion chronicle. Oh, this story is the best, in my opinion, companion chronicle. That is from season 4, release number 12, Solitaire. This has a rating by the fans of a 9.2. This is the Celestial Toymaker versus the Eighth Doctor's companion, Charlotte Pollard. It is a fantastic story. This is written by John Dorney, and it takes place all in a toy shop. It is fantastic. Does it require you to have previously listened to or viewed stuff? I mean, you need to know who Charlie is. I think that kind of helps. I think I listened to this without a full knowledge of who Charlie is. You don't really need to know the previous storylines or what was going on. There's no continuity between that, just, who this companion is. But it is a fantastic story. Strongly recommend. One of the best companion chronicle story. Obviously, as I'm praising this, I gave it a perfect 10. This is a perfect companion chronicle story. Next on my list is The Lost Story. And this is very relevant to most recently because this was discussed on the best of William Russell as we were remembering the memory of William Russell. This comes from the Lost Stories Season 2, 1A. And that is Farewell, Great Macedon, which is a part of a box set in Season 2. You have 1A, 1B. Second story is The Fragile Yellow Arc of Fragrance. This first one is a fantastic story. I think it is a lot better than Marco Polo. If you like Marco Polo, I feel as though you will love Farewell, Great Macedon. It is a fantastic 6-part story, and it hits the First Doctor in perfect stride. Again, strongly recommend. This is rated by the fans as 9.2. I gave it a 9. So not a perfect 10, but I think that is a fantastic story. I think the only reason why I gave it a 9, not 100% sure, but I feel as though I gave it a 9 because it is a long story. Similarly to Marco Polo, it is one less episode than Marco Polo, but because of the storytelling style at the time, it is a tad bit slow. That being said, I was watching the colorized version, still hadn't gotten through with it, but the colorized version of the Daleks. I like so far some of the cuts that they did to kind of speed up the pace of that story. But the hard part about it is, as great as I love, that's a great story. I'm fine with it being told the way it was in the 60s, because that's what you're, signing up for when you watch a classic show, is you're signing up for that era storytelling. I understand, because I was watching special features, RTD wanted a newer generation to buy into some of the classic stuff. Totally get that too. But in buying into the classic stuff, you're altering it in a way that it was not meant to be played to get people. He in the interview, he says he wants people to be exposed to this story. But at the same time, you can also tell he also wants to sell product. And his product is get people to possibly buy this story and then buy into his RTD Revival Part 2, because this, according to what he said, was also one of the things he asked the BBC to be able to do. Get stuff on the iPlayer, get this colorized, shortened, and a little bit more Gen Z friendly, I guess you could say. But yeah. All right. Next, I have Companion Chronicles, Series 5, Episode 7, Perry and the Piscon Paradox. This is a fun story. This story takes place, I believe this is written by Nev Fountain, who is Nicola Bryant's husband. This is a fun story and also a sad story at the same time. It takes place featuring two Perrys, obviously a Piscon, and you have the Sixth Doctor and the Fifth Doctor and two different time frames. This is a 2-hour companion chronicle. First hour focuses on Perry with the Fifth Doctor. Second part of the story takes place with the Sixth Doctor and older Perry. Now, that is a very intriguing, pairing because of who old Perry got turned into because of traumatic stuff, because of time with the Doctor. I think it's a fantastic story. I strongly recommend it. Average rating from the timescales, 9.1. I give this a perfect 10. I think it's a fantastic story. Strongly recommend. Yeah. Next, I have... Here is where I have the Unbound story, Deadline. And this is rated by the fans as a 9.1. And let me read to you the synopsis. So it says, it has been 40 years since Martin Bannister encountered the Doctor. They were different men back then. Marty was younger and talented and the Times' 7th most promising writer to watch out for. The Doctor was a mysterious, crotchety, and possibly Oriental, huh? And it was the encounter that destroyed both of their lives. Let's see. Martin's life is about to change unexpectedly. Impromptu poetry readings, blah, blah, blah. All right. Anyway, I did not like this story. I have my reasons. It is personal and it is very hard for me to explain. But the twist ending was something that I don't think I could ever get over because of, again, personal reasons. And so I will tell you, I probably unfairly gave it a 2. Sorry, a 1. Sorry, 1. I gave it a 1 unfairly. I won't change my rating, but I will tell you to take my rating with a massive gram of salt because this is rated by the fans on the timescales as a 9.1. So take that as you will. Probably not as bad as a 1, but I do have some reasons for that rating. All right. As we scroll down, we have Big Finish range, main range release 213, The Two Masters. Now, this has me and Liam, there's an argument that ensued when this came out. And let me just see when this came out, just to give you a heads up, because I was forced to re-listen to this as one of our gift exchanges because it was known that I do not like The Two Masters. The premise, the setup for the idea of the story is very interesting. And I don't think it was done well at all. This was written by John Dorney. It features the two masters, which is Jeffrey Beaver's master and the Alex McQueen master. And then you have the Seventh Doctor. Now, the average rating by the fans of the timescales is 8.8. And the main reason why I hate this story, I don't hate it enough to give it a 1. I think I readjusted my rating when I was forced to do something else. Anyway, or when I was forced to re-listen to it. And so I readjusted my rating because I knew it was on there. And so for an average rating of 8.8 by the fans, I increased my rating to a 6. The main reason why I changed it to a 6 is it wasn't as bad as I initially thought it was. However, I did not like the layout of the story. I found the idea. Let me just walk you through my rating. And again, I believe this came out in 2016, probably around June or July of 2016. And I gave it that rating because of this reason right here. You have two masters. They are working together to, do what the master does, which is remain on top, be the head dude, murder as many people as possible, and be able to laugh in the face of the doctor as he defeats them. Well, the master, which one? And that's the problem that I had with that story always. Which one is going to be number one, and which one is going to be relegated to number two? And that's why I cannot stand that story. Doesn't mean it's a bad story. It's that, you have, like I believe I told Liam on the podcast, you have all of these stories where the Daleks will partner up with some group and, that group is destined to be just gunned down. Why? Because the Daleks double cross everybody, because everybody is impure according to, it's ends to a mean. They're just trying to get what they want. Then once they have no use for you, because you're unclean, you're not like them, you're not pure, wipo off the face of the earth. So, Master, similar MO, uses people until they're of no use to them, and he wipes them out. Well, what does he do when he's working with himself? He can't necessarily wipe himself out, but he's always looking to backstab himself. Why on earth would he not fully believe that he would not backstab himself? And that's where I have a problem with the two masters. Now, Liam says, and his argument was at the time when we did this reviewing is, well, he's a narcissist. Yes, but does he not realize that, and maybe he doesn't, does he not realize that both of them are going to be gunning for the number one position? And nobody wants to be number two. That's why if you're so devious as the master, you can't work with yourself. Anyway, it's a 6. It's not as bad as I originally. I think I gave it like a 3 or a 4 the first time. And after listening to it, I increased the rating. All right. Next, Jago and Lightfoot, Season 8, Episode 1, Encore of the Scorchies by James Goss. Now, the Scorchies is basically, alien Muppets, that they're not Muppets, but they look like Muppets. And they initially took over, and Joe was fighting them in the 70s as they were trying to take over the world. It's a silly idea. They have a kids show, but it is a freaking musical. The Scorchies, the first one, is, as much as I hate it, I can't truly hate it because it is a good original story. Do not like the musical parts of it. I do find the song Joe is making a thing hysterical at times, and then it gets stuck in my head, but it's not my cup of tea. But I originally gave it a 4. I think I have to give it a 7. This is the Scorchies, because of it is very original and doesn't suck. It just is a musical that I don't like. Encore of the Scorchies with Jago and Lightfoot, that story sucks. Like, I understand the purpose of the Scorchies way back, in the 70s, make it look like a kid's show. To be done during Victorian London time doesn't make any sense. It really, really doesn't. And then to have a love story between, I think, Jago and some sort of life-size humanoid-ish puppet woman. Oh, I hate Encore of the Scorchies. It sucks. That, my friends, is like a 4. I gave it a 5. It's good. It's lucky to be a 5. But yeah. Let's see. All right. Next. Nope, those are TV shows. All right, next. With an average score of 8.7. Main range release 209. With the Fifth Doctor, who is this? Fifth Doctor, Nyssa, Tegan. Just Nyssa and Tegan. Okay, cool. Is Aqua Teen. It is a fantastic story. I truly, truly enjoyed Aqua Teen a lot. I think it's so great. It's 8.7. I gave it a 10, but this was back in the day where I believed in giving things 10. I'm going to give it a 9.5. I will adjust my score on the time scales. It is not a 10. A 10 means perfect, instant classic, even though I did undo an instant classic from a 10, but yeah, whatever. It's my rating. I can do what I want. But I'm going to give it a 9.5. It is a fantastic story. So this is the middle of a trilogy back when the main range did trilogies. 208 was Waters of Amsterdam. That is a strong story, which is great because Tegan finds true love and then she kicks it to the curb. Aqua Teen is the middle story. And usually sometimes the middle story is the weakest one. And the concluding story, 210, is the Peterloo Massacre, which when you listen to it, and I do strongly recommend that you listen to the Peterloo Massacre, just realize that Legion is crying at that moment. So just know he's crying as you're listening to it. It is a fantastic, perfectly told story. It is a historical. It is great. Peterloo Massacre, but Aqua Teen, fantastic story. As rated by the fans, 8.7. Peterloo Massacre, as rated by the fans, 8.1. And I will tell you, I stand by 10 instant classic for Peterloo Massacre. But that's not the one we're looking at. We are looking at this one right here, which is Aqua Teen. Again, fantastic story. Next. What do we want? That is okay. So I think I'm going to do 2 more, and then I'm going to get into the low, or maybe I'll get to, the lowest. So, my first story that I ever read or listened to from Big Finish that I purchased directly from them was Demons of Red Lodge and Other Stories. And I've always had a dislike for the 4-part half-hour stories. Generally, most of them are garbage, but on the plus side, they are new Big Finish writers cutting their teeth in a main range setting, which I'm all for. Don't give people a 1-hour box set or a 2-hour main range release or whatnot as their first full Big Finish main range release, because I will not buy it. Anyway. So I've always struggled with that, especially because of my first experience of purchasing a subscription from Big Finish, because Demons of Red Lodge, special features, fantastic story, written by John Dorney. The rest of them are not good at all. And I will forever die on that hill. No 30-minute stories, unless this is what you're trying to do, is cultivate talent. Then I'm all for it. And that's also when they would do, special, subscriber specials, full cast subscriber specials free for people. And I felt as though that kind of made up for the less than stellar, 4-part solo adventures. Sorry. This comes from Main Range Release 188 Part D, or the 4th part, from the Breaking Bubbles and Other Stories. This is the curious incident of the Doctor in the Night. The synopsis. This is so good. This story is written by Nev Fountain. Again, Nicola Bryant's husband, partner, what have you. Says, the synopsis is, Michael is a young boy who likes to solve mysteries. As such, the mysteries of the extra gnome, the mystery of the absent father, and the mystery of the strange man in the yellow trousers at the bottom of the garden. Enough said right there. This is the Sixth Doctor, and the Sixth Doctor is just doing odd stuff. It is being observed by this boy, and it is just a fantastic story. Strong recommend. This story is rated by the fans, let's see, as 8.6. I gave it a 10. I think this story is like, my special features is good. This is like the perfect solo adventure 4-parter. But again, it also did something that I liked, which even though it was a solo 30-minute story, it was done by a strong writer. Anyway, make that as you would. All right. And the last one I'm going to do. That is, do I want that one? I'm skipping around on some of these because I know some of them are going to come up later on another list. All right. I'm going to do this one because it is worth mentioning, and I believe it can possibly be sold differently. And that is Main Range Release 115 Part D, which is part of the 45 storyline. And this is the Word Lord. This is the introduction to the Word Lord. It is fantastic. It is horrifying. It is the 7th Doctor, Ace, and Hex. Strong recommend. I gave it a 10. The people at the timescales, they have a combined rating of 8.6. So those are the higher rated from the things that I have rated and reviewed on the timescales with my thoughts and opinions on those. So if you're new to Big Finish, if you're new to certain things, looking for something to read or listen to, I strongly recommend picking up some of those. Now, for the opposite rating, we're going to do the lowest ones, and I'm going to give you what I did, or what they did compared with what I did. All right, so so on the bottom of my list, with an average rating of 5.3 by fans, I'm very serendipitous right here. This is Main Range Release number 53, The Creed of the Chromon. Now, I actually have no problem with this story. This is the second story of the Divergent Universe, the first story being that of Scherzo or Scherzo or however you like to pronounce it. Did not like Scherzo. I think it is highly overrated and slow and not good. Creed of the Chromon is your introduction to Kerez, who is in the Divergent Universe. I don't think it is that bad. I think what makes this story bad is how the end of the Divergent Universe ends, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but this has an average rating, like I said, 5.3. I gave it a 7. It's not that bad. It's not perfect. It's not great, but it is also not that bad. Next is the Companion Chronicles, Season 1, Episode 2, Fear of the Daleks. Now, this is interesting because I don't remember rating it like this, but of course, this was me rating it back in 2011. The average rating for timescales users is 5.6. I gave it an 8. I think that is way too high. I think in 2011, I was a lot nicer. This is Zoe having nightmares about the Daleks. What I like about this is this kind of transitions from what we saw at the very end of The Wheel in Space, where the Doctor shows Zoe the Daleks. And I believe that this transitions from her nightmare to this story. It's not the best Dalek story. It's not the best. It's definitely not the worst companion chronicle story, but it's also not the best companion chronicle story. I would give that a hard pass. Me having it as an 8, yeah. I disagree with that rating. I was nice from 2011. Anyway, next, the Big Finish special release number 2, The Big Blue Box. Now, if memory serves me right, this is a Colin Baker story. Let's see. Oh no, it's not. This is from the 8th of March, the first box set. This is the Doctor with the Dr. AWOL. Benny and Ace are. Oh yeah, this one could have been so much better. So much better. Yeah, with the Dr. AWOL, Benny and Ace are left to their own devices, going native in a Liverpool University. Ben accepts the invitation, but she really shouldn't. And Ace meets a very strange collector. An alien library is about to gain a big blue box, but where's the TARDIS? So yeah, I did not like this story, and I will tell you, as somebody who has struggled with some of these special things that are just a story for story stakes, not a story for continuity sake, I did struggle with this one. Average range from Timescale listeners. This is, again, a 4-part box set. They gave it a 5.6. I give it a 4. This is not a good story. Next on the list of the lowest rated from the Timescales, Lost Stories, Season 1, Episode 2, Mission to Magnus. We did a re-listen of this for a gift. I re-listened to this. I honestly don't think it's that bad. When you are listening to Mission to Magnus and just come away just focusing on that this was a story in the late 80s for kids, you don't, because it's Doctor Now is made more for families. I feel as though it was still, even though there was violence, Mary Whitehouse and all not, but I feel as though it's still made for kids. 5.7 by the fans. Mission to Magnus. I gave it an 8. Is it 8 worthy? No. Do I enjoy listening to it? That's why I gave it an 8. I think it has higher re-listen value. I think there's certain parts of it that are weird. You could say it's outdated. Anything can be outdated. Some things that are made today are probably outdated, or at least released today are outdated because of the amount of time it takes for post-processing or post-production and whatnot. So you could say that certain things that come out now are outdated. Next, lowest rated by the fans of Justification. Yes. By the fans is main range release number 19. This one absolutely sucks. And Liam doesn't find it that bad. Actually, it's pretty good. I'll give it a 6. So, and that one that Liam gives a 6, which I have been hating on forever, for as long as I can remember, is, again, main range release number 19, written by Gary Russell and Alan Lear. And that is Minuet in Hell, an 8th Doctor story with Charlie and the Brig. And I love that Liam will say that he likes it because the Brig's in it. Okay, the story sucks. The story can suck and the Brig can still be in it. Like, it doesn't take the fact that the Brig is not in it that the story's good also. So, average rating, again, 5.8. I gave it a 5. It is not a good story. I think actually that needs to be like my, my bar for bad stories. Is it worse than A Minuet in Hell? Next is The Lost Stories from Season 1, Episode 4, The Hollows of Time. This is the Tractator story. And again, this one, I gave it a 9. The average rating is 5.7. Is it great? No. It's written by Christopher H. Bedmead. Yeah. It's not that bad. It's it's a story that I think, for me personally, does have re-listen value. So yeah, to each their own, right? Anyway, next we have, let's see, what else do we got? We have, okay. Nope, that is a TV series. Okay. So this story right here, I'm glad that is rated low. I actually don't think it's as bad as it is believed to be and can be. And that is main range release number 185. Came out around 2014. I rated it in 2014. I believe I listened to this when I was in England. Anyway, this story is called Moonflesh. It is the first in a 3-part Fifth Doctor and Nyssa storyline. You had Moonflesh, you had Tombship, which is the best of them. And then you had the worst of them, which is Masquerade. Now, the reason why I say I love that this story came up is I've always been I don't think I want to listen to the trailer. It's Doctor Who. I think I just want to listen to it listen to it. You have me sold. It'll be good or it won't be. But this one was when I decided to listen to the trailer. And I absolutely hated this trailer so much. Absolutely hated it. And then I listened to it. And I think I had to re-listen to it a little bit later. And I came to the conclusion it wasn't as bad as the trailer made it to be. Maybe it's still not good, but the average rating from the people at the timescale is 5.9. I gave it a 7. This is written by Mark Morris. It's not that bad of a story. It's not a great story. Also not that bad of a story. So that is Moonflesh. If you're going to listen to one of them, Tombship. Listen to Tombship. You'll thank me later. It's fun. It's fun. Next, Fourth Doctor Adventures, Season 4, Episode 8. And that is, I hate the story so much. I mean, the first part is also not good, but this made it even worse. And that is Return to Telos. Now, do I own the physical copy of Return to Telos? Yes, I do. Why? Not because it's a good story. I bought it well before it came out. I pre-ordered it back when, you were able to buy things from Big Finish in the United States and it be cheaper or not as expensive as it is now. No pre-order fees, which is, again, just baffling. But Return to Telos, written by Nick Briggs. This is a 2-part, back when they used to have 2-part Fourth Doctor finales. You had the Fate of Krelos, which is basically the Fourth Doctor and Leela going fishing. And then what makes Return to Telos horrible, and there's 2 things that make it horrible, is you could have had a Back to the Future 2 moment. And when I say that, I mean Marty in Back to the Future 2 at the very end was back in 1955. He was trying to do certain things. He couldn't be seen by his original self in 1955 and was doing things in the background. You had the perfect time to have the Fourth Doctor and Leela doing things in the background while the second Doctor, Jamie and Zoe, were in Telos with the Cybermen in Tomb of the Cybermen. That would have been the most beautiful story. It would have been, for me, a perfect 10 out of 10 if that was the story that happened. It was not. We got, part 1 was, what if the Doctor and Leela went fishing and nothing happened except K9 got possessed? That was part 1. So Ori was setting up for not a good part 2. then you had part 2, which basically undid everything to the point where neither one of them existed. I paid for both of them, and the story never happened. And that is the second sin about Return to Telos. Legion jokes that he can't give it a rating because the story never happened. And I think it's Schrodinger's Big Finish release. It both happened, so it is a 1 rating, and it didn't happen, meaning that I can't give it a rating because it never existed. I do not like Return to Telos. I gave it a 1. Average Big Finish or timescales rating is a 6. All right. And I think I'm going to end that right there. Let's see. I've been going on for about 40 minutes. Let me just give you my lowest ratings from what I've done on the timescales. And obviously, worst one that I've given is Return to Telos. That is a 1. Fourth Doctor Adventure. The next one is main range release 138, Cradle of the Snake, which is, what is it? The Mara. I found that story could have been so good. I felt as though it was very wooden. It was very not well done. I believe it was a Mark Platt story also. So did not really appreciate that story right there. I do have Deadline, which I talked about, Unbound story number 5. Live 34, I absolutely hate that story. It sucks so bad. Main range release 74. I've been told by numerous people, by Johnny, by Liam, or Legion, that it is actually really good and they like it. I'm glad that they like it. I hate that story. It sucks a lot. Next, I have Fourth Doctor Adventures, The Abandon. I gave that a 2. Average rating by the timescales is a 6.2. This was one of the first stories that Louise Jameson wrote. And the weird thing about it is it was very, I feel as though it was very 70s. Very, mushroom induced or whatever. Just, I believe at one point in time, the TARDIS consoles turned into mushrooms and started walking away, or the buttons on them. It is just not good. Do not like it. Sam, I am. Nope, not even with my green eggs and ham. The next one is main range release 288, which is The Blood Furnace. I gave it a 3. Average rating from the timescales 6.2. This is the 7th Doctor, Ace, and Mel story. And Liam, I believe at one point in time, liked it because there was some witchcraft that was going on. And I can't recall 100% reason why I did not like it, but I just felt as though it could have ended differently. And it just went way too weird. And some people on the timescales compared this to the High Price of Parking. High Price of Parking is fun. High Price of Parking is fun. Blood Furnace. I like High Price of Parking, and I like The Warehouse. No, not The Warehouse. Warehouse also sucks too. It is, Fairport? It's a 6th Doctor story. Anyway, yeah. Blood Furnace, not good. Don't recommend. Oh, I keep on changing the rating system. Sorry. All right, next. I have as my next lowest rating is Big Blue Box, which I already talked about. We have the main range release 234, Kingdom of Lies. I don't remember that. I gave it a 4. Oh wait, Kingdom of Lies. Sorry. That was part of the. I don't remember that one. but I'll take my word for it that it was a 4. Anyway, next one. Oh, yeah, I get crap for this from Liam all the time, and I love that it is rated low. Now, one would think that I gave this a 1. I did not give it a 1. I do think it sucks. This is written by Mark Platt. This is a historical story. It is main range release 231, 6-Doctor story, which features Flip and Constance Clark. And this takes place in 1756 Bath. And it has slavery at the around in the story. And that's not the part of the story that I don't like. The part about the story that I don't like is Flip constantly just complaining, and like, a millennial and stuff like that, or a Gen Zer, like, oh, it's so not fair that this is happening. This is so not fair that this is happening. This is so not fair that this is happening. That's what I hate. Like, could you please move on from whining about this happened? It is a historical thing. I'm sorry that you are unaware that history happens and also stuff like that is happening in modern day. Sorry that you're blinded, that you don't know that stuff like that's still happening in modern day. But that's not my problem. That is either your poor education or whatnot. But that's the main reason why I hated the Behemoth, is it was always like, I should do something. I should do something. I should do something. It sucks that this happens. That got so tired, so tiresome, so fast. I gave this a 4. So again, possibly Minuet in Hell is my benchmark for, because I did give that a 5. So this is a 4. So this is worse than, I'd give this worse than a Minuet in Hell. The average rating from Timescale fans is 6.5. And I'm going to end with one more, and then I will be done. And that is the, it's a story on TV. That's a story. Demons of Red Lodge and other stuff. I gave it a 4, 6.6. All right. That being said, that is my list of things that people from the Timescales ranked compared to that of what I ranked. What are your thoughts on my lists and my reaction to the Timescales lists, and maybe even mine? The top 10-ish ones, the bottom 10-ish ones. I don't know. Email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. DMs are open. You can email the show at alhambraaudio, ALHAMBRA audio @gmail.com. Anyway, I think I said that wrong. At Alhambra Podcast. DMs are open. All right. Anyway, that being said, thanks again for downloading and listening. We do appreciate it. Please stay tuned. Would love to hear from you. I'm not sure when my co-hosts are going to be joining me, so any feedback that you would like to give, please send it this way. Would love to read it. Would love to interact with you. Just do so. I'm during the summertime, until I can get certain things consistently, just know, instead of just a regular Sunday release, which the podcast has been for quite some time, it is just going to be, there could be 2 a week, there could be 3 a week, there could be 1 every single day of the week, or Monday through Friday. Hope you enjoy it. Hope that you're enjoying listening to it. Again, give me feedback. I'd love to hear from you. We'll read it on the air. Even if you tell me that I suck, that's perfectly fine too. I will just cry for 3 hours, but you know what? After the 3 hours and 1 minute, I'll be fine. So thanks again for downloading and listening. Until next time, I will see you in time.
You have been listening to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Doctor Who is owned and trademarked by the BBC. Doctor Who Alhambra is not affiliated with the BBC or Big Finish. No infringement is intended. Visit our website at alhambrapodcast.weebly.com or email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. Tweet us at Alhambra Podcast. That is ALHAMBRA Podcast. Thank you.